Hey, this is John Bennett with Generis. I want to welcome you today to this interview, and we're going to be talking about digital strategies, both what we're learning in the crisis as well as some things we're going to take with us out of this entire coronavirus deal we've been in. And I'm going to introduce my guests in just a moment, but let me kind of frame up the conversation for a second with you when it comes to Generis. Many of you have heard the name or been around the brand or heard the brand Generis. For the past 30 years, Generis has been serving the church community, helping them fully fund the vision that God has put in pastors' hearts, leadership team hearts, and to see God do amazing things. We have served literally tens of thousands of churches as a group. But in the last about 4 or 5 years, Generis has branched out, and we started a brand new program called Total Advancement Solutions. And we are serving the nonprofit world, the faith-based nonprofit world. So we are working for the past 5 years with ministries, Christian schools, Christian universities, and I could not be more excited about the team. 10 people now are part of this team that are working with Generis and working with faith-based nonprofits all over the country. And so this short video really is going to be kind of to introduce that again to so many ministries that will be watching this, as well as that we want to have conversations with you as we move out of this crisis. And just to let you know, you can go to our website, generis.com, sign up, and we'll do a free consultative call with you right now to help you through any of the things you're dealing with this spring as you make your way through the crisis as well as out of the crisis. So I want to introduce my guest. He's my good friend. His name is Todd Turner. He's a director of digital strategies with Generis. So Todd, thanks for being with us, man.
John, this is going to be fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, let's jump right in. I know you've got an amazing background when it comes to digital. You've been in this space for years and years and years. So let's talk about this real quick. Let me frame this up for us, and then I want you to kind of launch in and give us some really practical stuff that is going to help these ministries out. Now, churches, they all made a mad rush online, and they had to test systems and processes and resources, and they had to figure out how to do virtual church. But I know ministries and nonprofits had to do the same thing at the same time. So you worked and you've had many conversations over the last several weeks. What are some of the things that you saw and some of the things you learned during that process?
Sure. Well, it's really interesting. I like you. I have both church and nonprofit organization clients. Churches, they can see giving going down or up with it by the week. But nonprofits, we normally don't work by the week. We work by months. And so it was really where churches were panicking and trying to figure out how are we going to pass the plate virtually. And they were testing their systems out. A lot of nonprofits really were in a wait and see mode because they don't even know whether giving was up or down or not. So with my clients, we had to make a decision. Are we going to treat this as this pandemic as a storm, a blizzard, or a nuclear winter? Because where churches are sort of Sunday's coming, I try to get my clients to think 3 months out, especially with digital, because I want them to be planning a digital campaign, whether it's a campaign or just your normal work, months and months ahead. And so a lot of us sort of pick the middle ground of that. This is more than a storm, at least a blizzard. And let's hope not a nuclear winter.
Right.
And so that means that you have to do things today for what you want to happen months from now, right? And so it was pretend you're in a pseudo crisis, and what are we going to do about it? So there's different approaches, right? You could either talk and tell your story to a wider net, which is what a lot of people unfortunately go to. It's like, oh, well, if just more people know about us, they'll give to us.
Right.
It's not really so true, right? So it is more of what are we going to do with the segmentation we have, and how are we going to elevate that segmentation for if you're a low giver to be a more consistent giver,
right,
or put the middle of the pyramid up to the top. So it was a lot of figuring out what you're going to do 3 months down the road to aim at what part of the donor pyramid, and that's what most of my nonprofit clients started doing online.
Yeah, you just hit on a key topic there, Todd, which I love, which the entire segmentation process, like you said, this was not the time to cast a broader net and go, oh, please, we're so important, please jump on board. It's just not going to work that way.
Nope.
However, what you just said was so good, is that it goes back to existing relationships. And I love that point about elevating those relationships in terms of their ability to support the cause, of charity, the ministry, whatever it might be. And so that is key. You're exactly right. And it's interesting enough that when we get into crisis mode, I think we kind of begin to acquiesce and go, oh, let's do shotgun approach. And what I hear you saying is, no, we got to do a sniper approach because we got to segment our list even cleaner and clearer than ever before.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth because I feel like you should know your donor pyramid fairly well, and you should know we need to move these to here, we need to move these to here. Like, you should already have a strategy of what to do. But I also encourage people to aim at a part of the donor pyramid they don't normally aim at, something they're not familiar at. Is go do the thing that hurts for, like working out, right? If you don't like working your lats out, go work your lats out. And if you don't know how to talk to the $25 donor, well, go talk to them, because the $25 donor does add up, and it does bring people into that gift. And once you have people who share your mission, as their capacity goes up, so will their giving, right? So you're not always taking the quick approach. Sometimes you have to take the long approach as well. But yeah, I say you use the word sniper. I love that. But aim at some things you don't normally aim at as well.
Yeah, that's really good. And so, Todd, I know you've had a whole background. You worked with Chuck Swindoll for years and years. You ran the entire digital outreach there. You've raised literally millions of dollars through that. So talk to me a little bit about the online processes, from what you work with clients and ministries with, as well as what you think may be worthy of a conversation moving forward out of the crisis.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I know that like a lot of, not to go back to churches, but churches were really trying to hurry up and figure out how to do a virtual giving, pass the plate virtually, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to organizations, I mean, it's when you're in a crisis, not a great time to switch systems, but it is a great time to put lipstick on your system,
Mm.
right? And so it's good to sort of look at your giving pages and look at your funnels and think through, is our website doing a great job telling our story? And does the donation page give a reason to give? I'm going to get real granular here for a minute, John. But
Yeah,
one of the problems that I see is that a lot of nonprofits rely on the donation button in the nav. They just think that somebody's going to magically want to click it, or they've already come with a preconceived notion to click it, and they haven't really given a case to give.
Mm.
And so I like making sure that if they've clicked the donate button, let's just say that they did, they're not 100% convinced to give, right? You have to remind them, when you give to a church, I'm going to speak really high, the 100,000, foot view, but when you give to a church, you're giving out of obedience, and you're supporting your gift at the disciples' feet, right? Like in Acts. But when you're giving to a nonprofit, you're normally giving to something that's important to you, that the nonprofit helps you do. It's your ministry. The nonprofit needs to do a good job of reminding you that you're the hero, the donor's the hero, and they're giving you money to go do something they can't do. Right? It's like if I love, and I have as a matter of fact, I do have a heart for children in hospitals. I can't go to the hospital every day, but if there's an organization that does it, and I give to them, I'm giving to my cause, not to the organization, right?
Yep.
So sometimes organizations have this dry donation page, and they just assume, oh, people are going to want to give to us because we do great things.
Yep.
No, remind them of what it is that they're giving to, and put that all in the funnel and the storytelling of why you want to give. And I think I know this is sort of general talk and not necessarily pandemic talk, but it is. Because right now, people are going to really make some decisions of where they're putting their money. And if you're telling a great story of what your organization is doing, and you're reminding them all the way through the donation, and even the second donation and the third donation, you're going to see dramatic improvements. And coming up in this blizzard, you're going to need more and more gifts. You're going to need your donors to be more and more loyal, right?
Yeah. Kind of what I hear you saying is that the entire process needs to be seamless, from the fact when I hit the give button, I go to a page, the story's being told in such a way that it's connecting with a passion that I have about your organization. Not tell me how great your organization is, but it's connecting with a passion in me. I make the donation, but then the follow-up, which is what you were just bringing out, which was a great point. The follow-up needs to click into place so that that second gift comes, that third gift comes. And without that seamless storyboard, people are really missing out on opportunities.
I agree. Now this takes a little bit of work, what I'm going to say about the second gift. It depends on who your organization is. This will not apply to everybody. But if you are, I'm going to just use the word like a homeless shelter,
Yep.
and you've asked somebody to give, if you're aiming at people in your database that have never given, right? And so you're trying to give them a reason to give, and you say, next Saturday we're going to give out, boxes of food, and each one of these is $25. Would you give?
Yep.
Well, here's what I coach, and that is for all the people who gave $25, the next week you say, hey, thank you for that gift. Do you know that we're going to do that? That worked so well. We're going to go to this street and do it again. Now, could you give me 50? Don't ask for 25 again. You know they'll give 25.
Yeah.
Go to 50 and find that. Now, if you've got somebody giving twice, you've got somebody who really is getting it now. And now they sort of fit in a different part of your donor strategy. And now you can sort of work on them next time in your sniper approach. And then how do I turn them into a consistent giver where I don't even have to ask anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Well, Todd, I want to pivot as we kind of close out the interview, and because I've been on the phone with you with people I work with in the church world as well as the ministry world, and I know how effective you are. You're clear. You're very insightful when it comes to like a digital assessment, a digital audit, so to speak. You're looking at all the online processes, online giving, that kind of thing, and you're kind of walking through some things. So first of all, kind of give us one or two things that you see that are common mistakes, and then tell everybody what that means to kind of engage you in this entire idea of a digital assessment. In other words, blow somebody's website up right now online.
Actually, I think I have to do that tomorrow in another interview. But those are fun actually. But it's really interesting. One of the first things that I do. It's so easy with a fresh set of eyes because we all get so involved in the day-to-day of ministering in our nonprofits. We're not really great at assessing, our marketing, if you will. One of the first little tricks I do is I want to know who you are and what makes you unique. And so I normally sit with the founder or someone very high up, like the historian of an organization. And it's normally one of the best conversations ever is they pour out their heart and say, here's what we do. And then I just turn with a fresh set of eyes and I look at their social media, their emails, their drip campaigns, their website, their donation. I'm like, how come I don't see any of what you just told me? And so it's interesting because especially the older your organization is, the more employees that come in, and they don't necessarily hear the original passion story like I do. So one thing that I encourage people to do, and it's really hard if you don't get an outside consultant, and that is look with a fresh set of eyes. Or are we presenting to the world what we think we are? Yeah. And normally, no, very, very few people make an A plus. And if they make it on their website, they fail on social media. If they do good on social media, they fail on the website. So to your point, it's a seamless process. Is everything that you do, if your donor goes and sits on your development officer goes and sits on your couch, and then the donor goes online or gets an email or goes to your website, the story better be the same. Yeah. Because you can't say this is really important to me, and then your next 5 emails say something else is more important to you. It sends mixed messaging. So that's one of the first things I do in an audit, John, is look high and sort of the marketing approach is, are you who you say you are?
That's beautiful. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because I think the messaging somehow through the years or through the multiple employees or iterations, whatever it is, it starts getting mixed up really, really fast. I couldn't agree more. Well, Todd, this has been super helpful. So just the bottom line is if someone wanted to kind of engage Todd Turner and go, hey, I at least need to have a conversation, I think we need some help online, what would they do to be able to do that?
Yeah, I encourage a lot of people to start with the digital audit because it's a way for me to get with them for a couple of days, and I come back to them with the next steps of here's what I recommend you go do. And they can either do that without me. A lot of times they're like, help us get there. But a digital audit is a great start because it's a fresh set of eyes to come and tell you, you know what, here's where, let me score you in some areas, and then let's figure out what you need to do in those areas. And then once again, if your team's big enough, sometimes you can do it on your own. If not, I can either give them help or help them myself.
That's great. Well, Todd, thanks for taking a few minutes out. I think this interview was super helpful. And again, if they want to just go visit Generis.com, Todd Turner, look under the Total Advancement Solutions page, check that out. A bunch of free resources are there. And again, if you're struggling right now during the crisis, sign up. We have free consulting calls. We would love just to jump on the phone with you. And literally, I don't think I've worked harder in my life the last 2 months, Todd, and got paid less.
Agreed.
It's worth it. It's worth it, right? Because we're helping the kingdom of God out.
That's right.
Appreciate you, man. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, John, for having me.